Hey everyone, Joe here from ActionX, and welcome to What's on the Two, or welcome back if you were a loyal fan of the Nancy Drew episode review series. You want to hear my overall thoughts on the first full season of Nancy Drew, or if this is your first time here and you're curious of watching Nancy Drew the first season because you're stuck in lockdown, you're curious, it's on the CW app or the CW online where you can binge the whole season for free, but you're curious before you watch it, this is the place for you. My name is Joe. This is a very bad introduction to me, but this is usually how I am in my episode review. If you were unaware, for nearly more than half a year, I have been reviewing Nancy Drew, the show itself, every episode. All 18 of them. It was supposed to be 22, but again, with COVID happening, it delayed a lot of things with that show, and I feel very sorry for it, but anywho. So right now, we've wrapped the first season on my end. I reviewed all 18 episodes, and here I am. I'm going to talk about the first overall season. How did the whole season mesh together at the end of the story? Did it work? Did it not work? Did we have great standalone episodes, but not an overall continuous story? And for you all who are just watching this for the first time, just curious, then spoilers, I think this is a very good show. Now, I'm saying that very basically. It's a good show. We'll get to more of that in a second. Now, again, as I've said this before, now I think 4 times before I even get to the actual bulk of this review, I have reviewed every episode of Nancy Drew, so if you want to go into it not wanting any expectations on the show, then go ahead, start watching it. But after every episode, come back here. We have all 18, all reviewed. So it's available for there. But if you just want the simplistic, like, what are my overall thoughts on the whole season, on all the characters, the story, the mysteries, the whole shebang, this is it for you. Anyway, so let's get down to it. Now, I haven't done that many season reviews in the past. I have done High School Musical, the musical, the series, and I do not remember how I did that one. So I'm kind of winging it a little bit. And that's another thing if you don't know about me and my channel. I like winging things a lot. Sometimes they come out well, sometimes they don't. Most of the time lately, they've been cutting out pretty decently. So hopefully, the trend continues here, and also hopefully I'll start making this a movement. Hopefully. Anyway. So I think the proper place to begin is my brief history with this show. Well, for me, it started back in September, October, where I was going to start producing What's in the Tube, the general overall series that has spawned many episode reviews, and Nancy Drew was a show that was even on my radar before I was even considering doing the show. I love mystery shows. I really do. The Scooby-Doo cartoons and the movies and every incarnation since has made me like mysteries. I really like mysteries, and it also speaks to me that I'm also a criminal justice major. I like solving mystery. I like the detective work. And Nancy Drew just seemed like a perfect fit for me. I have no history with the franchise beyond this series. I'm well aware of there were books. When I was doing research, I was very well aware of there was another TV show back in the 80s, I believe, that started the Hardy Boys, I believe. So that was kind of like a team-up show to kind of get the two franchises together. I believe, I'm not sure. And my research didn't go beyond reading there was a Nancy Drew show back in the 80s. But either way, I was going to this franchise fresh. I had no real prior knowledge of this universe that I was stepping into, but I was willing to go along for the ride and to learn about these characters, the specific take, and as well as many people like to make jokes sometimes on the internet. It is a CW show. It's a teen drama. You have very attractive teenagers doing some certain thing that usually would never happen in a normal day, but it's relatable, and yes, it does continue that formula, but it still works majority of the time. I have had some criticism with Nancy Drew throughout the first season, as I'll bring up here, and I will not be diving into spoilers. I will not. The episode reviews they have breakdowns of every episode, so I actually go through the plot, or as I like to call it, the butchered recap, where I talk about the whole thing. That's where I usually spoil things. So I'm not going to try and spoil anything here. So this is all very much fresh. I'm gonna try my very damn best to not try, because there's going to be certain elements where I'm going to try and tippy-toe around, but for the sake of this review, I will have to mildly spoil certain elements of it. So if you are fine with that, then you may proceed, or I'll give you a heads up whenever I'm about to say something. And another thing that you need to know about me is that my mental process comes in, comes out. It has maybe like a 5-second filtering process, so hopefully that 5 seconds is enough. But I'll let you guys know. Okay, so What's in the Tube began, and Nancy Drew was one of the launch lineup series reviews that we did, and I've been enjoying it. It's been a very fun ride, and now that the first season's over, and we're thankfully there is a season 2. It has been renewed for season 2, and again, if the CW's any history, its renewal is very biased. It's always gonna get renewed. Thankfully, it did, and we're gonna see more of this hopefully next fall, if we're back by next fall, because who knows, with the coronavirus and everything going on, we have no idea how long this is going to last for. But however, back to it. So let's get down to the actual... we're going to start with the story first. So the story, this plot is centered around our titular character, where a thing I learned early on in the beginning of the show, where I kind of was hoping this would be, if any of you remember the 2012... No, it was the 2010, 2012, I think it's 2010, Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, or Mystery Inc. I don't know which stuff out of you. It was one of those two. It was the latest animated version of Scooby-Doo, and they modernized the characters, but still kept their retro looks. And they still kept the simple Monster of the Week, Mystery of the Week, but they had an overall larger narrative. And that's kind of what I was hoping for, those elements with Nancy Drew, considering the fact you are taking a age-old established character and her universe and bringing it to the modern day with modern tropes like iPhones and I don't know what else there was in Nancy Drew that compared to this one. But the elements that made the Nancy Drew books popular back in the old days, there has been more modernized, technology available that would make things a little bit more easier, especially for a character like Nancy Drew to solve. And at the end of the day, coming from the end of the series, I got most of what I wanted, but also some of the stuff I didn't exactly want. Where the whole show kicks off with Nancy Drew, who was a bright, had a very successful path up for the future for herself already picked out. Tragedy strikes. Her mom sadly passes away, and this is not a spoiler. This is literally in the pilot. Slash, this is in the summary for the show. So she stays back. She doesn't leave her small town of Horseshoe Bay. She stays another year, and while she's stuck working a dead-end job at the Claw, she gets stumbled into a brand new mystery after giving up sleuth solving since her mother's passing. And now her and her co-workers, as well as the guy they didn't establish titles yet, so at this point, at the very beginning of the show, they're just banging. Friends and banging, that's going to be a new thing. I mean, you got Netflix and chill, but so I'm going to do friends and banging, whatever. And that's kind of where the mystery goes from there. So these co-workers are stuck in a murder mystery. Who killed the eccentric wife to a millionaire, son of a millionaire? I don't know what Ryan Hudson is anymore. Very conundering person as the series progresses. But I won't spoil his journey. You have to stay tuned for that. So that's kind of where the synopsis, where kind of our story begins. And I feel like the premise was very decent enough. I mean, there's not much more you can do if you're just establishing Nancy Drew as the titular character. You have to keep things in her element. And since, again, this is a modernization of the character, of her story, you can't really go too over... You can't really go too over much with the source material there. You're going to have to kind of keep some sort of knowledge there. And I'm pretty sure Horseshoe Bay may have existed in the books. Maybe it didn't. Maybe this is just an original for the show. Again, I don't know. I have no inclination of the books. And yeah, so that's the story for you. I feel like, again, the story was very basic enough. Like, okay, I can wrap my head around it. There isn't like a whole bigger mystery on the horizon. Well, it's a mystery show. That's another spoiler. It's going to happen. It's really going to happen. But I feel like the beginning mystery, well, there were two beginning mysteries for the show, and I feel like that helped, but also hindered things a little bit, because, again, when you're stretching something out throughout multiple episodes, because, again, Nancy Drew is network television, so they have certain criteria. The minimum is usually 16 episodes. Nancy Drew was going to get 22 episodes, but it said got 18 again. So the last time I'll say this, because of coronavirus. And so the thing is, you have to find a way to keep the mystery going and, not making it so stale so that fans just get discouraged, like, I give up on this. I said this before the beginning, and I still feel like this is more positive now that the first season is finished. This show hopefully will gain an audience on the bingers side of things. I feel like this is a good show to binge because for me, I was very anxious to figure out next week's revelations, the next puzzle pieces to the overall mystery, and I like doing that. I like learning new things. I like gaining that knowledge. So I feel like Nancy Drew season 1 will be preferred better viewing for a binger than for me, where I had to wait week to week to week and then eventually having breaks in between those weeks. So that worked out in my favor. The story progresses, and they go in very interesting directions with the mysteries. They delve a little bit too much on the supernatural for my tasting. I mean, ironically, we have a show on the CW called Supernatural, and so kind of like comparing the two. And I should not really compare these two shows, considering Supernatural is an established 50-season franchise to Nancy Drew that's just starting out with her first season, but for the sake of, comparing supernatural elements, no pun intended, it was a bit jarring because you have to rely more on the ancient folklore and also of towns instead of supernatural, which goes everywhere with its mythology. But supernatural aside, I do respect that. Again, it's the classic trope that towns have some sort of, supernatural entity, supernatural mystery, something that they can't explain in natural terminology. And I think Nancy Drew did a pretty decent job tackling that. There are some places in more the beginning side of things where like, it's kind of going a little bit too far for me to understand, but then the latter half managed to refine that with certain things that will come up in the story that does make sense, and it does make for curious things to ponder about. If you already watched this season, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But I think that's it for the story, because again, I'm not trying to spoil anything, so I'm not going to delve much into the spoilers. So let's move into the characters. I'm going to work backwards. It's kind of weird. You usually start with a titular character. I'm going to work backwards. I'm going to start with the Drew crew itself, and then I'll work my way around. So, hands down, there's always that one character that is the best. They are always the show stealer. For me, it's Ace. I love Ace so much. Ace, in the pilot, there's a definite change between, and this is also classic TV terminology, where things you see in the pilot might not exactly carry over to the remaining of the series, because the pilot was filmed before the rest of the show, so elements could be added or refined to make the remaining season more tolerable for certain elements. I feel like the Ace character is a different beast in the first episode to the second episode, and then onwards from that. He's just a very nice, chill dude. Like, he cannot hurt a fly. I mean, sure, he has some shady stuff, as you'll get to see very early on, but overall, he's a likable character. He cares about his friends, and all he wants to do is be the best to everyone, and he's got his own issues, but he tries to mask that and just focuses on helping, more other people that are beyond him. And that's what I love about his character. And when you eventually get to see more of his origins, which sadly we didn't get that spoilers. We didn't get much of in this season. Hopefully, maybe in season 2 we'll see more Ace's origins. We didn't get to see that much, sadly. So, but either way, what we got from Ace's material and also what we got to see with him, overall interacting with everyone else was great. He's always been like the comedic relief in moments, but he's also sometimes the straight man. And I think that works out better for him and his character. As if you're watching it for the first time, you're going to see that. But if you're coming back from it, you can agree with me. Bess. Bess was different from what I expected. It was shocking. I'm not going to delve into spoilers there, but Bess has surprised me as a character. She comes up with very different developments as I was not expecting when we began the first half of the season. I think the second half, they kind of went a little standard on her, but I don't mind. And again, they did some pretty good twists. And there was this one twist that I won't spoil. And I think I'm using my friend George's terminology here. Even if I mention the prospect of a twist, even though I don't say the twist itself, it kind of defies itself as a spoiler. So I won't get into it, but Bess will surprise you. And I feel like they did her so well. But that twist, and I'll say this last, it kind of confused me for a little bit because I initially thought that it was like, fans don't like it, let's just cut it out. But it makes a comeback. You'll understand if you watch the show or you're going to watch the show, either or. But yeah, I like Bess. I like Bess. Nick. I'm going with Nick because Nick could have been your stereotypical love interest to Nancy Drew, but he's not. He's really not. I mean, sure, the series will begin with them getting along very, very, very well, and you think that, they're going to survive like any mystery, couple in mystery shows or mystery books. They're going to defy the odds. They're going to get through that. And they're going to go for a very interesting journey, and they have. Something, again, that with the nature of everything going around with the world, that sadly that had to affect what could have been maybe hopefully more later down the line from its original plan first season. But I feel like they also did a decent job, a pretty good job, trying to find their own ways of handling certain parts of the relationship as you see more in the later half of things. But overall, Nick as a character himself, I really liked him. I really did. Nick has had troubled past, has a troubled past, and he tries his best to move on from it. And hopefully, with Nancy, he gets sprung into this new life of sorts in her mystery-solving ways. And yeah, I mean, again, without spoiling things, Nick will go through a lot, and he comes out better for it. And yeah, that's all I really can say about it. Again, it's really hard not to spoil things because I'm trying to keep this spoiler free. Maybe I'll do a spoilers review someday with someone else, but I don't know anyone else that watches Nancy Drew, so can't do that right now. George. Not my George, the George in this show. The amount of George jokes I have made to my George since October has been unbearable for him, and I'm pretty sure he's happy that the season is done for now. But George, again, I mean, this was the first time I've seen a female George on television. Again, I understand you name your kids whatever you want. I'm not criticizing that. More power to them. George was kind of a thorn. Well, is going to be a thorn in the beginning. Like, she's always sticking to the rules, always is focusing on the task at hand, not really believing in much. George goes through the biggest character change that I've seen. From seeing her in episode 1 to episode 18 are two very different beasts. And I enjoyed her character. She's very snarky, very, she never is afraid to speak her mind. She does have some troubling pieces of her past, as well as, clashing heads with Nancy throughout. But again, you're going to see a pretty different sort of journey for her as you progress through the first season. And I think you really like it. I think, besides Ace is the best character of the show, especially in its first season, George is the one that goes through the most change and shows the most change when you see her journey throughout. And our titular character, Nancy Drew herself, I think she's really good. I think the lead lady, Kennedy McClare, I can't pronounce the last name. I suck at names. Anyway, I think she does a really good job as the role. I think she defines who Nancy Drew is. She does she's your typical teenager / young adult, so she's still going through life, but she also still has her love of mysteries. Like, no matter what, you can't take that away from her, even though we see her in the beginning of the show not wanting to re-explore that side of her again. She does very much, she can't really get away from that for so long. And it's typical sleuthing 101. She's getting into issues, getting into things that she should not be getting into. And it's enjoyable. It's a really enjoyable journey for her. And again, with many modern interpretations of characters from the days of olden, she's really good. They did a really good job modernizing her, giving her a little bit of different flair, different twist. And yeah, I really feel like she was the perfect, the actress was the perfect choice to lead this show. And she does tie everything together. And especially as you label this crew, the Drew crew, and yeah, she does it's a really good character. And I'm being very basic here because again, I don't want to spoil anything, so take my word for it. She has a certain flair, tenacity to her that you're going to enjoy, and yeah, I think that's all I can say without spoiling things. Other characters include Mr. Drew, as I like to call him, Carson Drew, as he is on the show. Was supposed to be played by Freddie Prinze Jr., but he got recast. Damn you, CW. But the actor himself, the new one, he does pretty well. Wasn't a big fan of him. I'm not really a big fan of the character, to be honest. He's kind of your typical dad, to be honest, and I kind of wanted to see a little bit more. He does go through some stuff in the season. I'm just saying, like, I was expecting something a little bit more, per se. You had his girlfriend, which kind of is forgettable, to be honest. Again, as you'll see in the first season, you'll understand why I say it's forgettable. And yeah, and also you have Ryan Hudson, who is in the another integral piece of the whole mystery. How he's tied in with everyone is going to be very surprising to some of you, but not very surprising for a lot of other you. And he has a very he's the typical don't judge a book by its cover. Sometimes, again, I'm not going to spoil anything about it. I'm just saying that phrase applies to him very much so. And yeah, I think that rounds up the core cast members. I mean, what I especially found that stand out on the show was its commitment to its mystery elements and its commitment to the newfound supernatural elements. I'm very well surprised they kept it going as long as they could throughout the whole season. So if you ever feel like, oh, they're going to get rid of this, it's just for the moment. No, it's going to stay throughout. Those elements aren't changing. And especially how things end up in the last few episodes, it's not going away anytime soon. And yeah, I feel like they managed to, like, the mystery aspect, which I had a mystery corner on the episode reviews. I feel like they did a pretty good job giving us some new nuggets every week to allow us to figure out slowly, which again, I know it should be, making a mystery show 101, you got to give evidence and hints now and then. And sometimes they didn't really give that many hints and evidence. They kind of like pushes us to the other way. And yeah, it wasn't really exactly, some moments there wasn't really like, it wasn't really, that good, to be honest. But okay, now I might as well, what didn't I like about the season? I did not like the way they, sadly, didn't underused Ace. I really hope they use more of Ace in season 2. Certain characters, again, I don't want to spoil a thing, have been criminally underused, and some of them underdeveloped, which I hopefully with some of them will be able to come back in season 2 and continue their story. I'm hoping. I do not like, that's the thing, I don't like to mention spoilers, but it's your CW trope. There's going to be love triangles. I'm not a big fan of love triangles. I've been burned before from Total Drama about love triangles. It has burned me to death. So here in this case with this show, it doesn't go away. It's still one of those typical teenage drama tropes to have. So I wasn't a big fan of really that. But other than that, besides being belittled by the amount of Mr. Drew hate comments I was making, I did not like Mr. Drew at all. I think he was, well, I'm saying that very harshly. I liked the character, but I just didn't really get into his character. Hopefully that'll change in season 2 as revelations go along. And I think that is the very basic, bare bones review I can do of the first season without spoiling things. Because this is a mystery show, so it's criminal to spoil it. I think this is something everyone's going to watch for themselves and then enjoy and see how they would react to things. And yeah, hopefully that will be enough. So for me personally, if you're about to start binging Nancy Drew and you want to see what is someone's opinion on him from watching the whole season back and forth, I would recommend it. I really would. It will have some criticisms at moments, but I think if you look past and just the characters definitely keep the show going. They definitely do. And yeah, the characters really carry the story. Because sometimes the mystery can be very generic at certain points, but the characters and their personality and the actors who portray them were enough to keep the story going to the next point where it's like, okay, things are starting to get good again. And that was one of the things I really liked about Nancy Drew. And yeah, so for me here, from what's on the tube, I give Nancy Drew the first season 1. I'm not giving it a rating. I just say, I really recommend watching it. I really do. I think you will have a pretty good time, and hopefully, we will be back here again next year when I talk about season 2, whatever that turns out to be, because I have no clue. And yeah, But either way, for now, go watch season 1 of Nancy Drew, available on the CW app, on CW.com. I am not sure if it got renewed for Netflix or HBO Max. I really can't tell you. And also, it will probably be available on DVD sometime this fall, and I will purchase it because that's how I am. And that's going to do it for me. So, if you run away, this was What's on the Tube from ActionX. If you want to know what's coming up overall on What's on the Tube, we do the rookie episode reviews every single Monday after a brand new episode on Sunday nights on ABC. We also do Katie Clean chapter reviews every single Saturday after a brand new episode on Thursday night on the CW. And we used to do Nancy Drew episode reviews every Thursday after a new episode on Wednesday. We're doing this a little bit earlier because of the upcoming 69th episode of What's on the Tube, which will be arriving this Thursday night, which will be about Zane's Sex Chronicles. I'm about to record that after this one. That's going to be a freaking fun time, so check tuned for that. But if you only care about Nancy Drew, well, if you haven't watched Nancy Drew yet, go watch it. And then watch my episode reviews, and then, you know, see how my thoughts are more properly developed as I go through each episode by episode. And also, I'm going to do one last Nancy Drew review of this current production season, this current season, where I will be talking about next week on its usual time slot. I will be talking about what I hope to see in season 2 of Nancy Drew, hopefully. And hopefully CW and the writers and the actors will listen to me, which I highly doubt they will be, but I'm hoping, I'm keeping an hopeful eye out, because that's how I am. Anyway, so, yeah, that'll be coming up, but then also there will be a new show on the Thursday time slot once the Nancy Drew stuff is over. I'm not ready to reveal that, but that'll be coming out in May, so stay tuned for that. And I think I've rambled on long enough. So again, this was What's on the Tube from ActionX. If you want to see more of us, please subscribe to ActionX on YouTube. Please ring the bell for notifications when we have a new episode live. Like, favorite, share if you want to. And also, follow us on social media. And I'll see you, Drew Crew fanatics, one last time for a while next week when we talk about Season 2 and what I hope to see. And yeah, let me know in the comments below. Also, if you have watched Season 1, what do you guys think of it? Did you guys enjoy it? Did you guys love it? Did you guys not so much like it? Let me know. I'm always open to conversation. The comments are always open. I'm going to put on my glasses because I am blind as a bat. And that is not a reference to the coronavirus. I am just very blind. All right, guys. See you guys next time. Peace out.